I'm cooking my dinner at the same time, so I hope to record this quite quickly. Hey guys, while working on another project, which details gonna be soon on my website, it's gonna be quite fun, I hope you're gonna enjoy it, I had to manage an excess of files and I had to look up some PowerShell commands to help me out because I didn't want to manage 65,000 files manually. So after having a quick look on Google, then on StackOverflow, I actually tried ChatGPT. And it was quite helpful. Within a couple of moments, I had all the commands I needed to manage my files and to pull a couple of different file types to different folders, delete the stuff I didn't want. Anyway, ChatGPT worked for that brilliantly. And while I was sitting down and looking at the PowerShell window doing its own thing, I moved to the next step of my tutorial, which was creating a small profile in Tasker to handle something else. And since my ChatGPT window was open, I decided to use it to create my Tasker profile as well. Are my tutorials obsolete now? And will ChatGPT replace me? I'm very hesitant when it comes to using ChatGPT as a search engine for pretty much anything. It's mostly because of how it was trained, the cutoff date of the data it was trained on, and it is a language model, not a search engine, which means it has a very good ability to lie into your face and make up details or facts that simply do not exist. But it did handle my PowerShell commands flawlessly, so I decided to give it a benefit of a doubt in here. So I used the following prompt. Write Tasker app profile that deletes files that are older than 1 day. And as soon as I've asked the question, ChatGPT was more than eager and confident in giving me the answer.
Creating a Tasker project to delete files older than 1 day in a folder involves several steps. Tasker allows you to automate tasks on your Android device based on triggers.
The immediate answer sounded plausible and promising, and ChatGPT proceeded with creating step-by-step instructions on how to achieve my goal. While I was reading step-by-step instructions, I started to think about ChatGPT replacing me as a Tasker tutorial content creator person. An undescribed sense of loss ran through my head because I knew that some of that data that ChatGPT used to learn its own tricks came from my Tasker tutorials because I've been creating them for a long time and I am one of the handful creators that actually does that publicly. To set the record straight, I do not mind anyone using my work, my code and my creations or projects to make their own life easier. The reward for my humble work is usually, a like on a video, maybe a feedback email, or sometimes a donation. But at very least, I get that very important view or click on my website that counts towards the analytics and make me feel like all the time and effort I put into creating a new project was definitely worth it. But it's the second time since AI made headlines I felt that the value of my skills was diminished a little bit. Why the second time, you think? Well, it all started when everyone was super excited about the AI tools generating new images and art. The programs like Stable Diffusion or DALL-E were able to make generative art based on the training data scraped from the internet. I have an art degree, and even though I was 100% sure that these AI tools didn't use my artwork to generate their training data, I knew for a fact that the perceptions of other people on my skill set has changed, and I couldn't help but feel that it's somewhat more diminished where everyone can make those fantastic pieces by using AI tools, which basically learned on how we all artists make our drawings, right? So I take a quick look at the instructions generated by ChatGPT to see what's up with that. They were concise and easy to follow, and before I even took my phone to try them out, I decided to go a step further and ask ChatGPT to generate XML file, the import file that you could use in a Tasker app to import all of that knowledge without typing or selecting a single thing in the app. Within seconds, I had the code ready to be copied into an XML file and imported into my Tasker. So I've tried it out. I mean, I've seen those XML files before, but I wasn't really paying attention to them because it's, at the end of the day, it's an XML and it's a lot of different syntax, and I never had to bother with this. But even at the first glance, something felt a bit off. So once I've tried it, the import has failed. A big part of me was disappointed because if that succeeded, I could move on with my project, but also I could skip to the part when I'm 100% hating on ChatGPT for being so efficient and so good at it. I would be made completely irrelevant at this point. But the other part of me was happy because, hey ChatGPT, you can't do everything, you dipshit. At least not for now. My next step was to actually follow the instructions written, so it would take me a little bit longer to try it out, but it was actually uncanny how good the instructions were. First couple of steps I was able to go and just simply follow the steps given and recreate a task, a trigger for the profile to act once a day, and then I proceeded to tasks and generated a couple of actions in there. But then when I reached the action 4, something stood out to me. First of all, the global variable defined in there as date, which holds the date, didn't have a percentage sign in front of it, which means that if you didn't know how to use those, you would stop you in your track for a couple of moments until you figure out what went wrong. But to be fair, I was able to let it slide because it's such a small thing and such an easy fix I didn't even think about it. But what actually bothered me was the fact how ChatGPT was going to calculate the date offset to allow you to delete the files older than 1 day. Now, in principle, on theory, or on paper, this would work. You just need to add 24 hours to your date and then make calculations later. I have absolutely no problem with the logic of that. But you can't just use date global variable and add 24 hours hoping that this is going to work out. For this to work, you would have to use times, which is time in milliseconds from an epoch, and then add the 24 hours, in this case in seconds, which would be 86,400 seconds, to make the same calculation. My mobile is going off, I'm just going to silence it now. At this point, my confidence in delivering Tasker tutorials that money cannot buy was restored, and I knew that the ChatGPT can't probably replace me, not just yet, that is. It can definitely imitate me and pretend to be me, and like a camouflage in the nature, pretend to be something else without basically grabbing an essence of that thing, but I'm better. Or so I thought. If I ended up videoing here, that would be just a silly little anecdote that I could tell anyone at a party. That wouldn't be very much fun at the party, but yeah, it would be an anecdote. To give this anecdote more statistical significance, I've tried again. And this time around, I've changed my prompt slightly just to figure out and see what happens. After all, kicking down AI isn't particularly manly, but it's safe and fun, so let's do this. I pretty much asked the same question again to ChatGPT, and this time the Skynet has retaliated with a strong kick right between my legs because upon close inspection of the new set of written instructions, it corrected its mistake. And I did not expect that. The exact prompt I've used this time around was write a Tasker project that deletes files older than 1 day. So I didn't really change all that much, but I received a much different tutorial to follow. Fearing the worst outcomes, I went back to ChatGPT window and asked it to generate another XML files to see if it's gonna fix all mistakes all of a sudden and, well, made me redundant. Fortunately for me, and less fortunately for you because you will have to rely on my tutorials for some time, the XML file was rubbish again, so you couldn't just import all those instructions with a single move. To re-establish dominance once again, I decided to whip out my phone and follow the instructions given by ChatGPT and see if I can create that Tasker profile again. I knew already that the date calculation is going to be okay. And as I was mindlessly following instructions given by ChatGPT, I got to the point when I needed to calculate the date, and I sat in there thinking, wait a minute. At no point it asked me to get the modified date from the file stored on the phones, which was clearly the step I've seen before. So it fixed one mistake, but completely introduced another one. Yes, I'm still relevant, that's for sure, at least for now. To get more arguments in my favor and to re-establish even bigger dominance, over ChatGPT, I went to the first tutorial to verify that that action responsible for getting that data from files was correct. And while on the surface it felt correct, the actual action name was different and the configuration for it, while similar on the surface, wasn't a one-to-one representation of what's required to make this action happening correctly. I was winning this battle 2-0, so I decided to go for the, third time the charm approach, and I've asked ChatGPT one more time to generate the same Tasker project. And on that third attempt, ChatGPT came up with a new approach to the problem. He asked me to use AutoTools plugin in Tasker to generate that data and use it in a profile. And I wouldn't have a problem with ChatGPT using a plugin like AutoTools, so it's a very useful plugin and I use it myself, except that I know this plugin very well and I knew that the options that he suggested I would use in this profile do not exist. He was lying to me, making up facts straight to my face. So for the time being, I am irreplaceable. At least as long as you don't take Reddit's task in consideration, because it's filled with very helpful people that often they are more knowledgeable than me and ChatGPT together. I know it's a low bar to pass, but hey. So in conclusion, if you're going to use ChatGPT to help you out with the work, try to avoid generating entire projects for you. Focus on small things that can be solved by ChatGPT by pulling resources together, because this is where you're going to benefit the most without getting yourself in a trouble of trying something that would never work. ChatGPT is a little fun tool to play about with. But it's nothing more than McDonald's in a world where we all want to have this nice fine dining experience, or even just go home and cook a nice, delicious, nutritious meal at a fraction of costs. Yes, it's food, but you don't really want to use it unless you're forced to. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that little video about ChatGPT and Tasker, and do let me know, how did you use ChatGPT? Did it help you out in any meaningful way? What do you like about it or what do you hate about it? Because I'm looking forward to reading all those. As for now, I do not have any schedule. I know that a very exciting tutorial is coming up using Tasker as well, and some comments I generated by ChatGPT for PowerShell. So if you're looking forward to that, you know how YouTube works, I don't have to explain you all this. There's a couple of social media links down below. You can consider following me in there and start a conversation with me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.